Hello, namaskar, my curious minds. I hope you all are doing well. And today I'm with you once again. I welcome you all on English with Jahar sir, and this is Virtual Singh. And today we are going to deal with a literary technique, stream of consciousness. Friends, this technique is going to help you a lot in understanding the modern literature. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Now first, the term stream of consciousness did not originate in literature but in psychology. So this is an term was not originated in the field of literature, rather it was given by psychologists. If we go in the origin of this term, we find that this term was coined for the first time by Alexander Wayne, 1855. And he came up, the term has its association with William James. He was an American psychologist and he popularized the idea in his seminal work, The Principles of Psychology. It's a very popular and very famous book, and you all are familiar with this. James described consciousness as a stream, a continuous flow of thoughts, feelings, and impressions in the human mind. Now there is a metaphor actually you must be observing. A comparison has been made with river. They find it as a mental state where thoughts flow continuously, comparing this unbroken chain of thinking to a river or a stream. So a beautiful metaphor has been used here to explain the meaning of this term, that is the stream of consciousness. So it's like a flow, continuous flow of thoughts and feelings and impressions that go on in the human mind. Now, applied to literature. So, the term shifted from psychology to literature, and for the first time, English author and critic made in a literary context, applying it to the early volumes of Dorothy Richardson's novel Sequence. And the title of that sequence was Pilgrimage. So we can easily spot the use of this term. Sinclair, who was a critic, when he went through the novels and found out that it was Dorothy Richardson who applied this technique for the first time in her novels. The technique quickly became a defining feature of modernist fiction in the early 20th century as writers sought new ways to represent human subjectivity in a rapidly changing world. So this is a modern age phenomena, and you know it very well. There are a lot of changes took place during the modern time, and modern time, you know, faced World War First, also faced World War Second. So World War First and World War Second, no doubt, brought about a lot of change in the world, in the human psyche, human mind, and so were in the literature as well. Now let's see the meaning of the term. Stream of consciousness is a narrative mode that is a style, a manner that attempts to render the full, fluid mental state of a character as it occurs in real time. It's a fluid mental state. Instability is there. It's an inner monologue. Monologue, mono means single, log means speaker. That is often disjointed, disconnected, non-linear, and may disregard conventional grammar, syntax, and punctuation to more authentically mimic the non-logical way the human mind actually processes experiences. So, how the human mind works, how does it make the impressions of the external world, what goes on inside the human mind, and the way the images are formed in the human mind. All these things are studied with the help of this technique, and that is called stream of consciousness. So overall, in a nutshell, we can call it to be the study of human mind, and this is all about stream of consciousness. So let's go ahead. Elaboration of the concept. Now we discuss in detail about this concept. Literary technique stream of consciousness is a powerful narrative method that kind of the characters and to study the human mind. Replicating the continuous, often chaotic means disturbed, flow of their thoughts, feelings, perceptions, memories, and associations. So, they are unsystematic, the thoughts are unsystematic, there is no discipline, and the feelings, chaotic feelings, perceptions. Unlike a traditional interior monologue, which might present an organized chain of thought, the stream of consciousness aims to be unfiltered and raw. Now, friends, there is a difference between interior monologue and stream of consciousness. I will tell you later in detail the difference. But here, one thing is clear, that interior monologue prefers an organized chain of thoughts which continue to flow in the mind of the characters, while the stream of consciousness does not aim at the organized chain of thoughts, rather they are chaotic, or a chaotic flow of the thoughts and feelings in the mind of characters. Now there are some features like non-linearity. Thoughts jump between the present, past, memories, future concerns, and sensory impressions without a clear logical sequence. The mind is not stable. Sometimes the character go in the past, sometimes they become concerned about their future, and they really are stable at present. So means the thoughts keep jumping from hither and thither, hither and thither. Free association, ideas and images are connected by loose personal or subconscious links rather than formal logic. Pre-speech level, it often includes fragments of thought, ungrammatical constructions, sensory details at a level before they are consciously formulated into coherent sentences. So, coherent sentences are not there in this technique, that is stream of consciousness. It does not follow the grammatical structures, does not follow the grammatically correct logical sentences, and even it is not concerned with the use of punctuations and all these things. Mingling of impressions, external sensory details like sight, sounds, and smell. The five sensory senses are there, seamlessly interwoven with internal psychological reactions. So there is not a clear cut bifurcation or separation. They get entangled, interwoven, intermingled, and so it is very difficult on the part of the readers to find out whether the character is using which of his or her sensory organs. So it's all confusing most of the time. It's a lacking clarity. Now, significance of this talk technique in literature. The stream of consciousness technique holds immense significance for modern literature, as I have already told you that it is a technique of the modern age, tries to imitate the random, associative and often fragmented nature of human thought rather than presenting ideas in a logical and structured way. It often lacks punctuation, syntax, chronological order and moves freely between past, present and inner reflections. It is a record of the flow of consciousness, a presentation of character's mind from within rather than an external description of actions. So now the thing is clear that within this technique, the writer deals with the internal flow of the thoughts and ideas rather than observing the external circumstances and the external conditions of the characters. Now there are some points which can be observed when some writer use this technique. Shifted focus to interiority. It marked a major departure from external plot-driven narrative of Victorian literature, placing the subjective inner life of the character at the center of the story. The action is less about what a character does or more about what a character thinks and feels. Now the difference is clear. Now, if we look at the Victorian age, and that was just before the modern age, and during the Victorian literature, we always found that the writers were dealing with the external life of the characters. But here, we deal with the internal part of the character, like the thoughts of the character, feelings of the character. Psychological realism, by showing thought as a non-linear, often chaotic process, it achieves a deeper level of psychological realism, reflecting the true complexity and fragmentation of the modern mind. So it is the study of the modern mind, it is the study of the thought process of the modern people or in the modern age. Complex characterization, it allows for a profound, unfiltered understanding of a character's motivation, fears and memories, creating portraits of unprecedented complexity and intimacy. Actually, we don't expect that kind of complexity and intimacy in the life of the character, and that kind of unexpected complexity is presented only with the help of this technique, that is stream of consciousness. So the reader is directly immersed, means involved in the character's consciousness. Experimentation with form, it necessitated a revolution in narrative form, grammar and syntax. By breaking conventional literary rules, authors were able to push the boundaries of language and narrative structures, contributing to the broader modernist project of literary innovation. Subjectivity and time, the technique emphasizes the subjectivity of experience, manipulates the sense of time, showing how the mind can travel across decades in an instant and making time more fluid and psychological than chronological. So that is, chronological order of the events is completely discarded here, and the traveling in the time zones is found with the characters in this technique. Now, characteristics of the technique: interior monologue. Characters' thoughts are presented directly, often without the narrator's commentary. For example, Molly Bloom's soliloquy in Ulysses. Ulysses is a novel. Non-linear narration, events are not presented in sequence. The narrative shifts between memories and current experience. Psychological realism focuses on the inner world of characters rather than external events. associative leaps and free flow. One thought leads to another through association, not logic. So there is an absence of logic. Minimal punctuation and syntax, sentences may be fragmented to resemble the rhythm of thought. As the thoughts are not synchronized in the mind of the characters, and so is the pattern of sentences in the novels and writings of this age, and particularly those in which the stream of consciousness has been used by the writer. Now, if we look at the importance of stream of consciousness in modern fiction, then we find these 4 points. First, it marks a shift from external realism to psychological realism. The thing is clear that earlier we were just observing the external circumstances of the life of the characters. But this technique enables us to go deeper and deeper into the working of the human psyche and internally what is going on a character in the life of the character, that is clear through this technique. Represents the modernist interest in time, memory and subjectivity. Showcases the complexity of human mind and consciousness in art, and broke away from traditional storytelling and became a symbol of literary innovation. So this is a kind of innovation that took place in the literature during this period. Now, better we should find the authors, the prominent authors who employed this technique in their writings. And so I have mentioned here some of the prominent authors whose writings are known for the use of this technique, that is stream of consciousness. So for your examination point of view, you should keep these authors and their writings in your mind because such kind of questions will be asked from you. First author, the most dominant one is James Joyce, and James Joyce employed this term in his 2 novels. One is Ulysses, that was published in 1922, and Finnegan's Wake in 1939. How did he use it? Consider the archetypal stream of consciousness novel. Ulysses famously uses the technique to detail the events of a single day. Actually, you should be aware of the fact that Ulysses, this novel, is the record of all the events and incidents which took place within 24 hours, that is a single day. And minds of Leopold and Molly Bloom, these are the characters of this novel, with the final lengthy, unpunctuated monologue of Molly Bloom being a key example. Here, Molly Bloom uttered a monologue during the course of the novel, and that monologue is the best example of the use of a stream of consciousness. So if you go through this monologue, you can easily understand the basics and the characteristics of this technique. Next comes Virginia Woolf. She also employed this technique. Mrs. Dalloway or To the Lighthouse are very popular novels by her. She used the technique to delve into the subtle nuances of her characters' internal lives, linking fleeting sensory perceptions with deep memories and emotional states, often shifting the stream between characters. Third, William Faulkner. He also used in 2 novels. One was The Sound and the Fury, and another was As I Lay Dying. Sound and Fury, the title of this novel has been taken from one of the tragedies of William Shakespeare, that is Macbeth. Faulkner employs fragmented, highly disordered streams of consciousness, particularly in The Sound and the Fury, to convey the complex, often damaged ecological states of the Campson family members. So there is a Campson family member, and they are the characters in this novel. And if you go through this novel, you can easily find the beautiful use of a stream of consciousness, and you can find the opportunity to delve into the minds of the characters. Now, the fourth author comes Marcel Proust. He also applied this in Search of Lost Time. Although often categorized as a psychological novel using extensive interior monologue, it is a foundational work in its exhaustive exploration of involuntary memory and subjective experience. Dorothy Richardson, I have already told you in the beginning, because she is credited to have started or to have begun the use of this term, pilgrimage. So, her series of novels is credited with the earliest sustained literary application of this technique. So, these are the five prominent authors. If we go through their writings, we can easily find out the use of this technique, stream of consciousness. Now the difference, as I told you in the beginning, difference between interior monologue and stream of consciousness. So if we talk about the scope, then there is a direct speech of the character's mind in interior monologue. But in stream of consciousness, entire flow of thought, often indirect and author mediated. Structure more coherent, grammatically structured when we use interior monologue. But when we use stream of consciousness, the sentences are fragmented and associative. Example, interior monologue, you can find the use of it in Joyce's Ulysses. And if we look at the stream of consciousness, you can find it in Virginia Woolf's The Waves. So this is the difference between these two terms. So these are the authors. And it's all about a stream of consciousness. Thank you all for your patient hearing and watching till the end. Subscribe, like, share and comment for enriching your learning and ensuring your success in examinations. And one thing I should also tell you, feel free to reach out with your preferences pertaining to your topic. Friends, अगर आपको कोई particular topic आप अगर चाहते हो कि जिस पर मैं अपना लेसन तैयार करूं, तो आप कमेंट के जरिए मुझे बता सकते हैं एंड आई विल कम टू यू विद दैट पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक फॉर योर लर्निंग एंड फॉर योर कन्वीनियंस. तो आप इसको सब्सक्राइब करें, बेल आइकन दबाएं, जिससे कि नोटिफिकेशन, हर नई वीडियो का नोटिफिकेशन आपको मिल सके और आप इस लर्निंग जर्नी में शामिल हो सकें. सो आप इसको पढ़िएगा, काफ़ी डिटेल्ड में मैंने ये बनाया है और मुझे उम्मीद है कि एक भी क्वेश्चन आपका बाहर नहीं जाएगा, प्रोवाइडेड यू जस्ट रीड इट वेरी वेल. सो लेट मी वंस अगेन जस्ट स्क्रॉल the slides so you can take the screenshot. I think you must have taken. Still I am revising it once again. तो दोस्तों, इसी के साथ मैं आज के लेसन को समाप्त करता हूं और soon we will meet with a new lesson and hopefully this time I will come with a poem, another poem, and till then, thank you, take care.